All right, welcome to the Dynasty Pulse, where overreactions are encouraged, rookie hype is reckless, and somebody's future QB1 is about to be labeled mid. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into the 2026 rookie class, spotlighting prospects dynasty managers will fall in love with and probably regret reaching for a buckle up, because dynasty windows, they close fast, and bad rookie takes, they last forever. Let's hit this up, boys. Yes, we did it. We made it on without any issues. I love it, guys. Before we get rolling, a quick roll call. Schultze is not here. Obviously, he must have fell asleep. Probably overthinking that rookie tape he was watching. Jeremiah, obviously, here with his spreadsheets, the takes, and one player he's probably already too emotionally invested in. Chev is locked in while bringing the chaos and the confidence as usual. And Bigswell is currently on IR day-to-day, questionable to return, but listed as active in our group chat, but not sure where he is at this stage. But let's get into it, guys. Let's talk rookies. This segment is about talent. How y'all doing, boys?
Listen, I'm excited about this. I think this is the first time it's ever been just me, you, and Jeremiah and Coach.
Yeah, we're the three best friends that anyone could ever have.
We're like the Hangover, but without booze. So we're ready to go. I love it. Coach, how you doing, buddy?
Man, couldn't be happier. Really excited. Getting rookie fever. It's funny enough, talking to Chev and some people earlier today, this rookie class is a lot better than people think. There's a whole lot to be spoken about there's 5 players who are skill position players who will be in your rookie drafts who are on PFF's top 15, top half of the first part of the draft. And then if you want to lay out, there's plenty more in the back half of the first round, and we're just talking about round 1. So for all the talk about how great the 27 class, I think what needs to be postured more so is that this is a very good 2026 class with plenty of pockets. Just that 2027 is going to be much better. But I think calling this a bad rookie class is bad process, bad form, and we're going to talk about it.
What do you have to say about this rookie class there, Chev? Are you in agreement here with the coach?
Man, we do this like, I don't know if it's just like I can't place if it is just what the cycle requires when you don't have, basically 5 of 6 first round quarterbacks go off to immense success. And we didn't have that in 2025. We don't have that this year. So now all of a sudden everyone is screaming that it's not a good class because the talent's not getting the skill position talent's not getting pushed down by the quarterback. So we're in this situation where everybody, your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster that's not me is saying, hey, this class sucks. Sell your second round picks. Do this, do that. This class is terrible. But at the same time, the skill guys, I mean, we're thinking right now, you're seeing mock drafts where Carnell Tate is a top 5 pick, Mekhi Lemon, top 10, top 20 pick, like in 2023, the 3 receivers that went in the first round all went in the 20s. So how bad is the class really? You're going to get probably a high end, Jeremiah, you were preaching the gospel, in a fast draft, mock draft earlier today, talking about how Kenyon Sadiq could be a big mover. And like whenever we have a big time tight end in the class, that pushes things down. So it's distributed, but I think the struggle is that there are people who view the game through spreadsheets, and there's people who view the game through actually looking at what's going on a football field. And whenever that happens, there's going to be a bunch of guys who say, oh, this class sucks, and sell all of your picks and re-roll to 2027. So, yeah, it's just really ridiculous. And I mean, shout out to you and Casey Jeremiah for calling that out, because it blows my mind, because we get here every single year when we're doing the tape. We're like, hey, I'm excited about this guy. I'm excited about this guy. I'm excited about this guy. And there's not one, but we'll get to March and then some. Oh man, I can't curse on this channel. Some guy
Some people, some folks.
Some people, some non-ball knowers will be like, I've been telling you about this guy and he's got an incredible profile. And anyway, end rant.
Well, it's exactly like this. Picture yourself, you're in school and you're going around, you're nervous about a test, and everybody's just saying, like, oh man, I didn't study. I didn't do much for this. Meanwhile, everybody else hustled, everybody else studied, and then you're the one left being the mark. So don't be the mark come rookie draft time. Get brushed up, win your leagues in January, in the early winter, just like reps in the spring for football, win games in the fall. You get your reps now in January, February. You're going to win all your rookie drafts come May, June, day after the NFL draft in that time. So get your reps in now. I think it's a valuable experience. And it's funny, we're making the market right now. More news is going to come out, but it's so valuable right now to dive in on these rookies. Now is the time to tap in.
I think specifically this class in general, people are fitting it because of the lack, like Chev mentioned, is the lack of quarterback talent is being pushed up and down. But at the same time, running back, I think there's some diamonds in the rough here that haven't really been discovered yet, that people are looking at their tape now that haven't had a whole lot of time in this season to do so. And now these types of guys are coming up, and I like what I see out of a couple guys as I'm working through the tape, and it's going to be really good to see this class really start pushing the steam. And I agree with you guys. This isn't a class that is one to just shut her down. There's some talent, especially at wide receiver position here. There's a huge amount of wide receivers that I love in this class that I think are going to make a good mark early on, and have solidified positions. And even the running back as well. Like, I mean, obviously the quarterback talent is going to be the one that's going to be the most looked at, because that's the most prominent position. And when that doesn't hit, obviously it brings down the storylines essentially, right? So when the storylines aren't there, people are going to start referring to us as a bad class. Then they have to really get into their chops and actually see what's going on in the field. Look at the skill positions outside of quarterback and say, hey, what's here? And that's what we're here to do, guys. So let's get into our first segment, boys. And that's breaking down these prospects. And this segment is all about rookie talent in 2026. Each of us will highlight a player we want to showcase. And then another, one of us will comment on that. We'll break down athletic traits, expected usage, landing spot, dynasty potential. By the end, you'll know which rookies are trending up and deserve your attention. Coach, you've been steaming this guy up, and it's no secret. So let's hear all about your guy, and I'll bring out the chart to get this party started.
Ooh, that's beautiful. Yeah, we're steaming him up, and we're not talking about Cleveland. This is KC Concepcion, NC State pride, baby. Wolfpack.
Yeah.
Woo! 5'11", 190, ends up at Texas A&M. Late round one draft capital right now is what I'm seeing. And my spot, Chev and I, in a mock, I took him. It was, I think, 1-6, Chev? And
yeah,
I had him right there. It's he and Emmett Johnson. I'm going to be flip-flopping. I'm in one draft today. I'm taking Emmett Johnson. I'm in one tomorrow. It's KC Concepcion. That's how much I love both players. And there's that versatility between the running back and the receiver position. Now, the story on KC Concepcion, fell in love with him at NC State. Freshman year, go watch Marshall. If you can't get all 22, at least do the pleasure of watching the highlights. 8-102 and 2. Just dominated, and you could see the vision, a true freshman breakout. Concepcion really fell through the cracks sophomore year. You were expecting it to continue, right? Grayson McCall was the quarterback. He had concussion issues. CJ Bailey got rushed in his development as a true freshman, and he and Concepcion, it was just more so a down year for Concepcion off the impressive freshman year. And then people were starting to get into the Luther Burden accusations of, you got to design things for Concepcion. He doesn't fit into the box that you need. So if he's not adaptable, he can't be adapted, right? Just nonsense narratives that went on. Really, Concepcion and NC State with CJ Bailey really missed by 1 year of being on track. So this transfer, though, was the best thing that could happen for KC because the timing was just off. In life, that's just going to happen. The timing is going to be off. So going to Texas A&M, drew 100 targets, Concepcion 2.46 yards per route run, a healthy balance, 34% slot, 66% out wide. He can play big. He can go up and get the ball how you want it. You can design things close to the line of scrimmage, which creates dynamism and versatility. So you can get some of that archetype that you may want out of a Deebo Samuel, a Jaden Reed, people who have talked about Luther Burden, but there's also the downfield shots that are there for KC Concepcion. I've talked to it on many shows. When I see KC Concepcion take a slant and cut and turn the burners on, I'm seeing early OBJ where Eli and OBJ would just connect and it'd be a one-hand grab. It'd be those white gloves that OBJ had where he just had firm hands and he just shoots upfield. So I see a lot of that little trait that OBJ had in KC Concepcion. So I'm a huge fan, and I'm calling the shot. Pick 26-27. You've got the Bills, and you have the 49ers. They're going to be back-to-back. One of those teams is coming away with KC Concepcion, and another team is going to come away with Denzel Boston. I see Denzel Boston being flip-flop, mocked to Buffalo a lot, but Concepcion, if the Bills don't take advantage, the 49ers will take advantage. So I'm very happy for him to be getting his due, Concepcion, because we've talked about it on another show with other people where I was sitting here fanboying, like, hey, what do you think about KC Concepcion? And, not so much there. And then this season played out, and it really vindicated that true freshman season that Concepcion had. It's a beautiful thing when you see it. You have it. And he's done it at 2 places now. So now he's going to go to the NFL in Concepcion. He gets paired with Josh Allen, or you get paired with Brock Purdy. I mean, think about it. Just the implosion of the idea of being tied to Josh Allen or a Kyle Shanahan wide receiver. My God, people were talking about Jordan Addison getting traded to the 49ers and how that would just boost Jordan Addison. Well, the organic route via the NFL draft, Concepcion would fly. And that's the territory, too, where Concepcion would go. Because, as we talked earlier, gentlemen, in the show, Tyson, Tate, Lemon, all going to be top 10, top 15.
Yeah. I agree with you here there, Coach. I like his profile. I actually call him the Captain Clean Route. So, he's ready to clean up. And if he goes to Buffalo or the 49ers, I think he brings his route, precision, his field awareness, and next level route running. I love this situation here if he goes there, Coach. And like you mentioned, some of these other guys may be steaming up that first round and might bring in a guy like KC into the first round and prove where some of this draft capital needs to happen. And yeah, I love that situation there. But some of the red flags for me, and I want to get your take on it, is obviously, you mentioned, his versatility and stuff like that, but he is only 5'11", 190. So that physical limitations, his blocking consistency might come into play. But overall, in the right situation in an inline slot receiver, I think that this could really be a good situation for him in the right area. So do you think he's pretty much like destination proof at this stage, in your opinion there, Coach?
I don't think it's going to matter because I see him just getting a ideal landing spot. I don't think a team is going to toy with selecting to those spheres of what you're saying, Mike. Those teams that aren't a valid destination will deem him an invalid pick. And by virtue, will get a valid destination and a matching valid pick for KC Concepcion. Because NFL teams, I like to be an optimist. They're going to put the archetype of Concepcion. They'll pair him with the other style wide receivers who can be dogs and ball a different way if they have to get it in blocking, or they have to be mean and tough and play a little bigger and play a little bit heavier in the run blocking game. Sure. That's something where we see Mekhi Lemon with his size. He's not Devontae Adams. Both these players are not Devontae Adams. So that just goes into the granular element where, hey, you got maybe a Denzel Boston plays a totally different position or role, even though they're still called wide receivers. Kind of we see the delineation with running backs. Your Thunder and Lightning running backs, they have different types of archetype roles. I don't think it'll be an issue for Concepcion, but if you want him to improve on his drops and you want him to improve on his blocking, I mean, Kyle Shanahan would be perfect. How much did he get on Brandon Ayuk for that? And then Brandon Ayuk really showed well before, of course, things went south. So, yeah, great question, though, Mike. That's a good. Chev, what do you think?
I love everything that you said. I would push back into thinking that he's not, he could thinking that we might be limited in our thinking about KC Concepcion. And you said an aggressive name. You said it gives you vibes of OBJ. I think that it's unfair because that's a first ballot Hall of Fame trajectory if without the injuries. So I always want to be careful with that, but I do think that he's going to be able to do everything that you want for a number one wide receiver. I mean, we've seen him be the gadget guy. We've seen him function. He had a 320-yard season his freshman year at NC State rushing. So we've seen him function with the ball in his hands and be really effective and average 7.8 yards a carry. And then this year at Texas A&M, he did everything. He put everything on tape that you wanted to see him put on tape. I've referred to him as like a full-size Tank Dell. Like the way that he starts, the way that the starts and stops, the suddenness, the ability to change direction. This is a smash to me. And I was really upset that you were so sharp on this because I was really hoping that I would get to say all the cool things that you said. So I'm really, I love everything that you guys have said so far. It's almost like a too big to fail situation, even though he's 5'11", 190. Hopefully we get a premium landing spot where he can be a day one target earner. And then he instantly becomes one of the biggest steals because he's never going to go ahead of the big three wide receivers. And if you're able to steal this kind of value in the he could be like this year's Emeka Egbuka, get off to a start like that. Emeka Egbuka was going in Ladd McConkey was Ladd McConkey was even later.
Yeah, later.
And he was he was by unquestionably the best value in the 2024 draft from a wide receiver perspective. So yeah, I love everything that you guys are saying right now. So I just wanted to add that in. Like I have no reservations about his ability to function as a full-time big boy X wide receiver, or you could function as a gadget guy. You could put him in slot. So it's just the alignment versatility and the jack of all trades thing feel like sometimes they can feel like a slight, and I don't feel like it applies to him in any way, shape, or form.
I think that was a really sharp answer there, coach, from you as far as like just, you know, understanding that the teams that are going to be invested in him don't see the downfall. They're going to have a fit for him, especially if they're reaching up to get him in that type of draft capital. So yeah, you really helped me solidify some of my doubts I had on him. I think he's a great prospect. I think he's got all those elite traits that I see in the Ladd McConkeys and the Tank Dells that we're talking about, and as those smaller slot guys that could really excel. And yeah, that's just landing spot dependent. And if he's going to get that capital and a really good spot, yeah, I'm all in on here because he's going to be a guy that's going to steam right up. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, let's move on to my guy here, and I'm going to talk about little Emmett Johnson, and known to me as the Gap Accountant. Also, was my former nickname in college for no other reasons, but he's built a rise at Nebraska, making every carry add up, and that's why I call them that. Former under the radar recruit. He didn't just arrive with star billing. He's been consistently balanced the books in the Huskers backfield, turning efficiency, patience, and versatility into a steady production. I love what I saw from him last year. 2025, 1,451 rushing yards, 46 receptions, adding that versatility for 370 yards. He's my RB2 in this class, firmly there. I think he's got the skill set to be a guy that everybody's going to be looking for, especially in the middle to, upper half of the first round, depending on where you need a guy in running back position in your drafts coming up. his vision, his patience, his lower body agility, his receiving ability, all great things that stand out to me. He's got great jump cuts, great lateral quickness. Sometimes his pass protection can be questionable, and sometimes he chases those home run hits. But he's a guy that's a complete back to me. He's got the less than explosive comp to Travion Henderson, but he's got the stability, I think, and a little bit more bulkier of a build to be able to last longer in the NFL here. So I think a great build and a guy that I'm projecting to go pretty high in this draft. Probably, early day two, maybe sneak into, maybe early day two, but at least in the second round, I'm assuming here for Johnson. He projects as like a rotational back to start, but I think near the end of the year in the right situation, he's going to be a guy that a lot of guys are going to be, savvy to get on. And I've been on him for a while here. The gap accountant is a guy, and I'm interested to see what Chev's thoughts on Emmett Johnson is.
First of all, I call him Nightcrawler. That's my nickname for him
Okay.
because those those cuts, like those, the dead legs, the stop, like the decel, his ability to change direction is next level. And I'm really careful about comping guys to all-time great players. But I see a lot of LaShawn McCoy in his game, and it just really excites me. So going into this season, Jeremiah will tell you, like, I was pretty dead set on Jonah Coleman being my RB2 in this class. But what he put on tape, you've got a guy, he red shirts in 2022. He comes in, he's a 4-star recruit, he's Mr. Football in Minnesota. He's, and then immediately when he gets the opportunities, he's 4.6 yards a carry. And we don't really get the full gamut of what he's capable of doing until this year. And immediately you see that he's taken a step forward. And this is a guy who I got real excited when Devon Achane was going in the back half of, or like the end of the first round. And if I had a late first round pick in 2023, it was Achane auto select. And I feel like this is going to be the same. This is going to be the same thing for me. I believe that this dude, like, I want him on my teams because I do not feel like there's unless he just goes to a situation like, say, the Colts for some reason give up on DJ Giddens and just decide to make him the backup, I think that he's going to go somewhere, and if they're just willing to give him a timeshare, give him 50% of the backfield share, hell, even 40%. Like, he's going to be so efficient, and he's going to be so dynamic and explosive that he's going to return on investment from a fantasy perspective almost immediately. The pass protection thing, you can figure that out. I mean, obviously Mike McDaniel figured out how to use Devon Achane to keep him out of situations where he's got a pass block. But you don't, I mean, it's something you don't like to see as a detraction. But I mean, when I turned Emmett Johnson's film on, I just found myself levitating above the cement aisle and listening to sweet love songs because this is just too good to be true.
Yeah, he's a explosive player, and he's got that opportunity, right? I mean, I'm really high on Coleman as well there, Chev. I think in the red zone, 3 down type back there, he could be very good too. I think landing spot's going to really depend on here and how these guys are going to come out of the gate. If you were to ask me a guy long term without a landing spot, who I'm picking right now, I think Emmett Johnson is probably the more talented guy overall. Maybe and probably has a little bit more of a longevity of a future based off of his running style, as opposed to Jonah Coleman's more of a bruiser up the middle kind of player. And those they both are going to have successful careers, but I think Emmett Johnson has got the opportunity, like you mentioned, to compare him to some greats. You really gotta take that value for what it's worth, as opposed to a guy that might be just another guy, right? So when you have those traits that are electric and explosive, I'm going with that one because those are the guys that are going to win you your fantasy leagues. It's those guys that are next level league winners. And if you can get Emmett Johnson at the end of the first round, hopefully he goes that far now. But I'm not sure. We're gonna have to see with this quarterback situation and who declares at this point. Like, we're really looking on Trinidad here to be able to come in and maybe, augment that first round a bit here, because with only one quarterback going in the first round, it's making these super flex drafts a little bit tougher. So it's an interesting proposition. Coach, what do you have to say?
Yeah, the dichotomy there, you hit on the nail. It's Trinidad Chambliss. If Chambliss, we did a mock where he went 109, and the pressure point of Fernando Mendoza probably is a 102. It might be 103 in some drafts, but 102, I don't think anybody's going to be crazy to go 101 with Jeremiah Love. If Chambliss ends up going back to college ball, that chasm, the asm, is going to be so wide between Mendoza and Tyler Simpson, to where there's going to be so much pressure pushed towards, we talked about, hey, a vacuous amount of quarterback, and there's just that little tunnel pressure that's occurring at the other positions. That'll definitely push something in these first rounds where it's just going to leave this emptiness. Stuffing in Chambliss is going to be huge for this round one. It is what we're putting together. You hit on a good point, though, Mike. You get through Tate, Tyson, Lemon, and I'm going to say Concepcion as the wide receiver 4. Let's call that the clump. There's a lot of respect to Denzel Boston, so they're neck and neck. But you take those first 4 clump of receivers, Mendoza, Love, of course, is 101, and then Kenyon Sadiq and Emmett Johnson. Between Emmett Johnson, Concepcion, and Sadiq, there's that next gap, that fall off, that next gap past Chambliss, to where it's like a second tier of wide receivers, the Chris Brazells, it might be Denzel Boston. There is that steep cut. So somebody like an Emmett Johnson really helps make this a formidable running back class, a good running back class. We're getting a generational excellent stud in Love. And then we're going to get very good RB2s through 5. We take Coleman and Emmett Johnson. I think there are 2 very good running backs. And Emmett Johnson, Mike, you talked about not a lot of traction. Didn't get a lot of love from SEC. A lot of love in the Midwest. Teams like Indiana, Iowa State, Louisville, Kansas, Missouri, Wisconsin. They were all interested in Emmett Johnson. Did not get much traction there. And he really is a player who he's going to mess. He can guess wrong. He uses his blockers, and he plays the eye game with the linebackers and the defensive backs, and he's veering off his blocker. He chooses wrong. Emmett Johnson can still end right. If you're a defensive back or a defender and you choose wrong in direction, you are gone. Like, Emmett Johnson is gone, and he's going to score on you. He is just awesome. He's just such a stud. And I really love the landing spot. Think about Zach Charbonnet, ACL, Ken Walker. If you feel slighted, hey, there's no amount of money you can give me enough. You've been holding me back from getting in the end zone. You saw what Ken Walker did, the 3 touchdowns last week, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. Ken Walker, I would just veer and venture. Unless Seattle wants to drop the bag, I'm out going to get it somewhere else. Emmett Johnson would be electric here. So great call, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, this running back class is got some gems too. We haven't even talked about the Penn State guys, and I'm really high on Nick Singleton too, because great recruit coming out, and had some injury history, and he's showed out at an early age. So I'm really high on those kind of prospects that are coming in, and if that depreciates its price tag, I'm all about it. Now, Chev, let's talk about your guy, and I want to hear all about him, because this is the tight end of this class, and you were the tight end guru in our circle, and you got us on the likes of Fannin and Gatson, and we definitely drafted a lot of those guys this year. So tell us about Kenyon Sadiq, not the biggest tight end. So I'm interested to see what your take is, and if it's landing spot dependent and schemes dependent for him. So talk about your boy.
Well, if this were 2005, we should have more concerns. But first of all, look at this dude. He looks like an Under Armour mannequin. That's not even a great picture of him. But he's 6'3", 243, or he's listed at 245 on PFF. Brock Bowers is 6'3", 243 pounds. Okay. Trey McBride's 6'4", 247. Rondé Gadsden's 6'5", 246. This is not your granddad's NFL where we're using these guys as inline blockers. You're using these guys to neutralize the new, hybrid nickel safety positions and still be able to have that leverage of a mismatch and going 13 personnel to try to get the nickel personnel off the field essentially and make them play the game, the cat and mouse game. So with Kenyon Sadiq, like I said, he's 6'3", 245. He made Bruce Feldman's freaks list. I'm thinking that he's going to run a low 4.5 or potentially even a high 4.4. And he's already been, recorded 41.5-inch vertical. You saw, the contested catch ability, the catch against USC. I mean, Jeremiah talked about that being a toothpaste tube moment. Like, I've been real loud about Kenyon Sadiq for a while. Former Idaho State Player of the Year as a receiver / tight end. And they're looking at the 1 year production profile, but he was playing behind a guy who went 46th overall in the draft. And this year his production profile was limited because the other tight end, Johnson, is potentially going to be a first round pick as well. So
exactly.
With Kenyon Sadiq, you have a guy, and there's a buying opportunity here because people don't see the gaudy numbers. I mean, 8 touchdowns. I think that led all tight ends, at the FBS level. So you have a guy who has this, has all the traits, but again, he's going to be a much better pro than he ever produced in college because this is a guy that you can build a passing tree around. I mean, we're going into the territory now where once is an accident, twice is a trend, 3 is the new reality. So we've had 3 years in a row. He weighs more than Harold Fannin. So we just saw Harold Fannin become one of 8 tight ends since the year 2000 to go over 700 yards receiving. Him, Colston, Loveland, Rondé Gadsden missed it by just a bit. Tyler Warren, Jeremy Shockey. Like, if you're too young to remember who Jeremy Shockey is, go to YouTube, and he was Gronk before Gronk. Like, understand that.
He was a bad dude.
So this is the type of company that we're talking about, and Kenyon Sadiq is next in line for me. I was a big Eli Stowers guy before the season started, but I just can't. I look at the athletic ability and the talent, and I see that Oregon basically left so much meat on the bone, no diddy, for what Kenyon Sadiq is actually going to be capable of at the next level. I'm not going to talk numbers here because I watch the film and I see his athletic ability and I'm like, oh yes, this is it. This is what I want. I want this guy. Even so, to the point where, like, given the certain level of tight end premium, and Jeremiah, I was listening to what you said, on the rookie show with the mock draft earlier, and Bradley was like, hey, I don't know if I would go Kenyon Sadiq, and I've never been more certain about it. Like, I am, the further that we get into this thing and the more people detract, the more I'm like, yes, give me the discounts. Let me trade back from like 103 to 107 or 108 and pick up a second, and then also be able to get Kenyon Sadiq. I am thrilled about it. So I'll cede the floor for any questions that you guys have, or what do you guys think about that?
Well, there is one question, and you look at him and you say, is this Jonathan Taylor, but at the tight end position? Like, you talk about his build, he's absolutely built just right. And he played in a lot of 12 personnel, put up very good numbers. We had that toothpaste tube moment, that touchdown catch against USC. Watch that touchdown and come back and tell me that he's not a dog and he's not the guy. I think he's got the ability to block. I'm really not worried. I think he's going to be on the field a ton, and that will provide plenty of opportunity for him. I see a guy who can absolutely blossom. And if you've missed out on the Tyler Warrens, the Laportas, Bowers, Colston, Loveland, go out and get yourself some Kenyon Sadiq. Hey, the Chiefs may go out and get some themselves. The Carolina Panthers would be phenomenal. The Denver Broncos, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Those are just some nice highlighted positions where teams, they need a tight end. And Sadiq, dropping numbers, right? Missed tackles forced, tied for 12th, and 9th in deep yards. So there's versatility to Kenyon Sadiq's game. And you're going to be able to, on a sliding scale, kind of like Chev was talking about, be able to get him in the middle, somewhat late, and latter parts of the first round. So take advantage. And what's going to happen is league economy. People who have Laporta, or not Laporta, sorry, Tyler Warren, Colston, Loveland, Bowers, McBride, they're going to pick apart and look around and say, I'm good on tight end. They're going to believe the hype of Brenton Strange. Let's say they have Strange and Pitts. They're going to say, oh, I'm good at tight end. That's one thing going on, like in league economies, is you look at trying to cash out on Trey McBride. It's going to be a little tougher than you think because you're going to have to go cross position because the way it is with tight end, people are going to park back and say, hey, I'm good to go, which I think will create a vacuum pocket to what Chev was talking about, where you can swipe in and go and get you some Kenyon Sadiq.
I actually like this take a lot, honestly, because people are going to be muffled about, his production. Everybody's looking for production, and you know what? You mentioned it, earlier in the segment here, Chev, is that Jamari Johnson is a first round talent as well. So when you put him in there, why wouldn't they play him at the same time? Like it's crazy not to. And some of the metrics I look for is yards per route run. Wasn't great, but he's had a season plus 2.00, which is a benchmark that I look for. So he's hit that threshold in at least one season. 1.72 yards per route run and a 75.7 PFF grade, which is still good, but I think had, Johnson not been in the lineup either, I think this would be a no brainer for me. So when I'm a stats guy over film, I get into film in the off season and I'm starting to get into it a lot more now. So I'm seeing the tape, I'm seeing these metrics, and those were some of the red flags. And then I actually look at it. I look at the tape and I put 2 and 2 together, and this guy's going to be a banger for me. And if he can be a value, like you mentioned, guys going ahead of him, I'm right in there with you there, Chev, swooping him up. So yeah, great take on Kenyon Sadiq. And yeah, boys, that's a great prospect model that we've been talking about here. Now let's get into our stock ups and stock downs. And this is a segment where, we're talking about who's buying, who's selling, and guys that are kind of on the up and down in Dynasty. And we're going to start with Coach. Coach, you got a guy you want to talk about, and we're going to do stock up segment first. So let's get into it.
Hey, just with respect to all of you gentlemen, I just happened to get into the show sheet and type this first. I know you guys love you some Kenneth Walker, and I know you guys will probably have this take as well. So I think we're in agreement across the board. We can sweep it. That Kenneth Walker is just an absolute riser. We all agree on his skill set, his talent. We've talked about him in different shows. I see him as Nick Chubb, who can catch passes. It's like wild. Like this guy has done everything. The accusations pre-NFL were, can this guy catch passes? 46 last year in 11 games, 31 this year in 17, but there's a lot more of a timeshare. Timeshares are costly and has absolutely costed Kenneth Walker dearly. I still think he's going to be able to escape Seattle and get a bag, but it's been detrimental to a degree where Zach Charbonnet really went and took out all those touchdowns, converted. I feel like the team could have given a little more love to Kenneth Walker in the green zone, inside the 10, inside the 5. That's neither here nor there. Still, at the same time, Zach Charbonnet, big fan of his talent. So both things can be true. But if you look at 11 games played, 8 touchdowns last season, to 17 games played, 5 touchdowns, that divergence with Charbonnet has really affected Kenneth Walker. If we could get the full Kenneth Walker role, we could be really cooking with gas. And I look at some numbers this year. This is still Kenneth Walker. Number 1 in juke rate, despite these issues with the timeshare. Number 1 in juke rate, 6th in evaded tackles, 4th in explosive rating, 3rd in breakaway runs. So imagine what Kenneth Walker can do with an entire season. And then last year, advanced receiving in 2024, target share, number 4, 5th in route participation, 5th in catch rate. So there's a lot of things that are there for the 3-down skill set in the receiving game, in the rushing game. Let Kenneth Walker go to a Chicago for DeAndre Swift. Let Kenneth Walker go to the Houston Texans for Nick Chubb. Look, there's plenty of opportunity in the NFL. Kenneth Walker is going to get the bag. His stock is up. You absolutely need to buy him. And you just love the direction that he's going.
Yeah, you gotta buy him. Yeah, I mean his true workhorse role was on full display last week, and yeah, just think of the potential that we all thought was going to be. But when you got a guy as good as Zach Charbonnet is as well, I mean he's going to eat as well. So if he can get a new system, I mean, even if he starts in Seattle next year, if he re-signs with them, he's probably going to have the runway for the first bit of the year anyway. So it should be a good situation. I'm hoping for a new scenery for him and a new OC, and hopefully that comes to fruition where they can get him open a little bit more.
I would just like to add that I'm so glad that you went back and mentioned the 2024 receiving profile, because that beats so many allegations, and in my mind it elevated him to me to a guy who could have RB1 overall upside.
Totally.
Cool.
Why couldn't he? Because I mean, look at his missed tackles force. Incredible. I think he's number 2 in the league right now, and with such a small timeshare that he's gotten right now compared to what these other lead backs are getting, he's getting completely castorized in the red zone, and there's no reason for it. Like, he should be
What a
in there as
word.
well.
What a word.
Yeah.
Mike, what is that word?
God,
I mean,
it's magnificent.
Categorize?
Yeah,
Is that like milk, but different?
exactly. It's frozen
It's like
milk.
castrating and pasteurized at the same time.
Because it's frozen tundra up here, so it's incredible what's happening there. Okay, let's move on, because we gotta pound through these last guys. So Colston Loveland is certainly my stock up, and yeah, I was one of the first on the show sheet. So obviously he's a guy that didn't follow a straight line, but his dynasty value, it's not built on straight lines. It's built on trajectory. And this year it progressed really good for him. I call him the trust fund tight end because he consistently delivered it when it mattered. And he was awesome all year long, especially in the latter half. 48 targets over his last 4 regular season games. And then when we get into the playoffs, look what happened. Level, like, wide receiver 1 level production here, 906 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns across the season after that slow start. And him and Caleb Williams, they're creating such a dynamic duo. And obviously Chev is going to talk a little bit more about his guy right away, spoiler alert, but he led the team with 25 targets over the last 2 playoffs games. Incredible stuff. Finished as the tight end 14 and half PPR, even after missing a game and not seeing full snaps until midseason. Top 10 draft capital, number 10 overall. That's huge when you think about what they invested in him. And he's there with Ben Johnson. What a dynamic duo. And look at what they've done, building that chemistry with Caleb Williams. I think this is going to be something that is incredible. He's my tight end 3 now in Dynasty, only behind Bowers and McBride, and the trust fund tight end, Young, and everything you're looking for in a tight end is going to pay off dividends in a couple years. So I love me some Colston Loveland.
Hey, one note before Chev spits some good word. 3rd and ADOT, Colston Loveland. 3rd and deep targets, 4th and air yards. I'm sitting here looking at the numbers, and I'm just like, is this Tucker Kraft, but last year going into this upcoming season? So go on, Chev.
Guys, I don't think okay. All right. Let's put some Mike, you're super sharp on everything that you said, and I absolutely love it. No, go back to Colston Loveland first. Go back to Colston Loveland, please. From weeks 9 to 18, do you know how many tight ends had more fantasy points than Colston Loveland?
It was probably just Trey McBride.
Absolutely correct. Do you know how many tight ends had more plays of 20 plus yards than Colston Loveland?
I wouldn't say any.
Correct. Okay. Only one tight end had more touchdowns, and it was Trey McBride. we just witnessed a historic pace season from a guy who, like, this is 11, 12, 1,300 yard pace, man. Like, we're talking about a dude who got the draft cap. Like, we don't have to make this harder than it is. We talked about it a little bit, and Mike, I love that you, like, I absolutely love that this was the guy that you chose, because Jeremiah, I've said this to you. Like, what if, like, they're going to go into this offseason and build the passing game around him? He just started being so good once he was practicing and playing that they couldn't not keep, like, hey, he's open somehow. I have to get the ball to him. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we could be, I was a Tyler Warren guy. You know, I still think Tyler Warren is an excellent player. He could, I mean, given solid quarterback play, he's a multiple time 1,000-yard receiver from the tight end position. But I think this could be, you know, the Trey McBride, Brock Bowers type of, you know, 14 to 16 points a game on a year in, year out basis. Or he just has a ridiculous pace where he just is like, you know, 18, 19 points a game. And he's basically like a wide receiver 2 or 3 overall, not in terms of categorization. So yeah, Mike, I love this. Yeah, we can go to Caleb Williams now.
Let's do your stock up and see how much time we got left. Keep rocking. Let's do it.
Yeah. So Caleb, obviously, you know, you look at the raw numbers. Oh, his completion percentage took a dip. He also, the Bears receiving core led the NFL in drop yardage. Also, you know, Caleb playing in structure with a coach that actually cares about him and is trying to teach him and rein in. What you have here is a prodigious, like, you've got the child prodigy that just has a little bit of petulance to him. He's been doing it his way, for basically, you know, he's had a storybook career from end to end. Like, I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more. Hey, I'm going to go into one of the biggest rivalries, down 21, and lead my team back to victory. I'm going to transfer to USC and win the Heisman. I'm going to be the number 1 overall pick. Last year was the first year that we've ever seen any sort of dents in the can for Caleb Williams, and people were just ready to throw him in the trash when he was 297 yards away from setting the all-time franchise record, which he set this year, and almost became the first 4,000-yard passer in Bears history. In addition to, so he's playing at his best in the best moments. I mean, in the biggest moments. And that's something that really stands out to me because of the fact that if you can get him to play this well when the game's on the line, if you just get him driving between the median, like driving not on the other side of the median throughout the first 2 third quarters, you might get something historic. My comp for him coming out of college was Aaron Rodgers, because the ability to throw on the run is just unbelievable. And it unlocks so much of your offense with a guy that has an absolute howitzer for an arm. And he's got the rushing upside. So from a fantasy perspective, we've got back-to-back seasons of over 400 yards. I said at the beginning of the year that, you know, he had 489 yards rushing last year and no touchdowns. That's going to change. So he cashed in on a few of those. He's also the first quarterback to throw less than 15 interceptions, I believe it is, in his first 1,000 attempts in NFL history. So there's just so much here to really appreciate about Caleb Williams. But again, just like guys that we were wrong about in the past, people are sticking to their priors, and any single negative inkling that you can come up with to doubt Caleb Williams, it's what you're going to do. So buy Caleb Williams if you can still, because this is going to be the next guy. He's going to be whatever it is that you're projecting. You know, it might not be linear. Like, we could have a little bit of a dip, as Jeremiah says sometimes, but let's just say the touchdown percentage goes from 4.8 to 6. And you get, you know, a 4,000 yard, 36 touchdown, 400 yards rushing, and another 3 or 4 touchdowns on the ground. Now he goes from QB7 to QB3. And now, you know, you're laughing all the way to the bank because you never doubted him. You knew the talent was there. It just took some refinement. And, you know, Ben Johnson made Jared Goff an elite fantasy option. And Jared Goff is a fine game manager, NFL quarterback. Caleb Williams is a tractor. he's the guy that can pull everybody along. And it just so happens the guys that he's pulling along are a historic pace tight end that's a top 10 pick, Luther freaking Burden, who's one of the best run after catch receivers in the league, Roma Dunze, who I'm still madly in love with, and DJ, sometimes effort more, who's really good in his own right, along with an elite offensive line and run game. So, yeah, I can't help but to make Caleb Williams stock up, because if all those guys are good, guess what's going to happen for Caleb Williams? He's going to be awesome for fantasy. Thank you for coming to my Chev Talk.
Yeah, I mean, this is like Mahomes 2.0 prime stuff here. I'm seeing such greatness from Caleb. I see he's just the next step away from, being QB1 overall, from being the league MVP. I just see so much greatness. If you watched that football game the other night, you saw it. You could look through the stats sheets to see what he's doing under pressure, what he's doing in key moments. And you can't teach that. You can't do anything but sit back and be in awe. And that's what's happening here, folks. And get on the Caleb train. If you're not, get on it now.
Please,
guys. And we're not throwing Jaden Daniels away, but this does regress back to Drake May and Caleb Williams when people had Caleb 1, Drake May 2, or they flip-flop them. It's great company to have, and Caleb Williams, Drake May, the cream is rising to the top. This reminds me, I'm glad you said Aaron Rodgers, Chev. This so much reminds me, this playoff run, the excitement, momentum, the build forward, when the Packers got bounced out, Aaron Rodgers, in a shootout in Arizona. It was like 2009. It was the year before they won the Super Bowl. And then in Atlanta, the Falcons barely escaped Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, and the Seahawks. But my God, it was very hard to stop the Green Bay Packers and the Seattle Seahawks, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. The ascendance was there. And you had all this feeling of, hey, next year, it's on site for both players. Same thing for Caleb Williams. You saw him drive down, tie the game up against the Rams, hits Colston Loveland, ice cold water in his veins. The team, it just didn't get the benefit and win. But you see, like, just a little bit got in the way, but not much is going to get in the way of Caleb Williams going forward.
Love it. All right, boys, let's power through our stock downs real quick. And let's start with yours there, Coach.
Hey, easy, simple, nice. Ricky Pearsall, this could present a buy opportunity based on how things go in the offseason with the 49ers. But Ricky Pearsall really just took a dump as the season went along. He was like a quarter version of Emeka Egbuka and Roma Dunze, where Roma Dunze and Emeka Egbuka had a first half that was great. Ricky Pearsall just had a first couple good games that were great, and then he really fell off this year. Never recovered. If you believe in the Kyle Shanahan just receiver element, and it ends up being Ricky Pearsall, yeah, you go absolutely. I think you buy at cost at Dynasty and in redraft and best ball streets. There's no way holding Ricky Pearsall, you're getting the value generated that you want. So I think you're kind of stuck holding, and there's going to be a pop somewhere. But right now, you can't help but look at what's happened. He has not produced at all down the stretch, and there's going to be a lot of insights. And I'm going to be probably a little more positive when we get a little bit away from the season and try and remember part of the things that Ricky Pearsall has done, but liken it to price point. You're not having to pay a high price, but right now, the stock is going down and the price is going down. So you just have to consider that when drafting.
It's interesting because Shanahan went online today and was praising him. But I mean, what other options do they have right now? They kind of soured their relationship with Juwan Jennings, who's now a free agent. They could have given him a bag, and they decided not to after that Super Bowl performance. And he's been a steady contributor for that team. Ayuk, that relationship is soured. Now they got this young guy. So, they're going to be forced to draft a guy here and put their eggs in probably Ricky Pearsall's basket unless they pay up to Juwan Jennings. They're in a rock and a hard place because Kittle's probably not going to be on the field till maybe November at the earliest, if we're thinking here. So they're in a lot of trouble here. So Pearsall is getting the praise, but I don't think it's going to be warranted when he's going to be getting the double coverage. Chev, what do you think?
this is a Florida guy, so this is near and dear to my heart. But I can't help but to be stocked down. This is a microtransaction if you're a believer in the talent that you could probably make right now at a fraction of what he cost during the rookie draft. And if that is to, if it comes into fruition to where he can stay healthy and he's the primary passing game target, no George Kittle probably for the first month and a half of the season. I saw the DPT Jeff Mueller or Miller, however you say his name. He said that it was a really high tear on the Achilles. So, and I don't think it was a rupture. So he was saying that he expected George Kittle to be ready by week 1 next year, which that sounds aggressive, but also there's been some sort of breakthrough in, there's been some sort of breakthrough in Achilles technology rehab. So take that for what it's worth. So yeah, it's so much easier to just buy Ricky Pearsall right now, because the price is going to be so depressed because people are going to be so hurt by the fact that he just hasn't played. So yeah, go ahead and, it's stocked down because he's not performing, but he's going to have every opportunity to perform unless they add someone significant in free agency.
All right, I'm going to get into my stock down, which is probably going to be a quick one here because he's already on a beach somewhere in Mexico. Probably, I'm calling him the poolside passer because he entered the postseasons with a chance to cement himself as a long-term dynasty QB1 and the unquestionable face for the Texans franchise. Instead, the playoffs revealed his other passion, with his probably throwing his ball to his buddies on the side of a pool, beneath the surface here. So look what happened. 7 turnovers in 2 playoff games, and CJ Stroud just plummeted this offseason. 4 interceptions in the first half against New England in a game where his defense was playing lights out and held Drake May intact. So everything was going well for the Texans until that first half ended with 4 interceptions, 28 passer rating in that divisional round, lost, one of the worst playoff performances in recent memory. So what do we do with CJ Stroud? I've wasn't a big CJ Stroud guy initially. So it's a tough one. After that rookie season, we saw, glimpses of what he could do. I mean, that's a small sample when you think about the games he excelled in. There was 2 games where, really padded his stats, and that playoff performance. I know, going to Foxborough, the weather wasn't great, but that defense is built to keep you in a game, and you just can't make those decisions that he was making in those times. And he looked like he was elsewhere. So not sure anybody else's thoughts, but he's outside of QB2 range for me now. Like I'm having him like kind of with the backups at this stage.
Hey, if I want to tell a good story on CJ Stroud, this is like the optimist in me. You're like, hey, how do we get like this back? You try and think, okay, how would we do this? You put yourself in that war room, in the draft room. Your defense is Super Bowl worthy. So now just invest more into that offense and see if that can be something that rises for CJ Stroud. But then, of course, the question is going to be truck or trailer. What is CJ Stroud? And I think right now the sentiment is that he's more trailer.
Yep. Music to Chev's ears being a divisional guy, I'm sure.
No, I really like CJ Stroud. I feel like he got a raw deal. I just don't think that they've done anything to accentuate or support his ability to be a franchise quarterback. So I agree with the stock down. I don't know what to do with him. I don't think he's really, he's not good for fantasy. So yeah, what do we do?
Yeah, it's a tough situation. So hopefully we see brighter roads ahead for him. Now, Chev, talk about Troy Franklin.
Man, it's just like Sean Payton just keeps telling us that he wants to move on. Like we saw Pat Bryant, we saw him basically have a 6-week span where he averaged he had 46 targets. And then from that point forward, once Pat Bryant was like up to speed or he could trust him or whatever, then Pat Bryant started getting the targets. And then like it was so weird because they were like they were siphoning targets away from Troy Franklin and Cortland Sutton to feed Pat Bryant. And they just paid, Cortland Sutton a 4-year, $90 million contract. So it's just all real strange. And this guy seems like he's going to be the odd man out. I mean, if the Broncos go ahead and add Kenyon Sadiq to this mix, then, it's like that scene in Jurassic World where Chris Pratt is like, they got a new alpha and it's going to be Kenyon Sadiq. So this is the odd man out to me, and I don't want to be left holding the bag. I mean, he did have a decent, he earned 104 targets. Like I said, 46 of those came in a 6-week span, 700 yards, 6 touchdowns. He looked good in stretches, but it's still not what you want to see. Like, to me, if somebody's willing to swap out Troy Franklin for Romeo Doubs, I would do that in a heartbeat. But also, that's a different story for a different day.
Oh, I'm super high on Romeo Doubs as a free agent this year for sure.
Future New York Giant.
Yeah, I think he could be a guy that gets a bag this offseason, and just with his age, all that in count here. I'm a big Troy Franklin guy. I was years ago when he was coming out, and maybe in a new situation, he'd be a guy he showed potential, but obviously Peyton does not like what he sees there. So yeah, I'm out on him right now unless a new environment happens, and I can't see that happening with his contract. So yeah, gentlemen, hour in, great show. I know we were missing a couple of our folks, but we certainly held the ship well today and showed our viewers some awesome intel on what this rookie class might have in store, especially in that latter half of the first round, with some of our guys being in the middle to that chunk. All guys that we're probably looking for in the same spot if we can get them, probably floating back and forth depending on what draft we're in and what our team needs are. But this first round is loaded with some talent, and don't be afraid in this 2026 class is the moral of the story here, folks. Anything else to report, boys? I think we're good. No, we're good. Yeah, what a great show, boys. Yeah, so we'll catch you next time on the Dynasty Pulse here on FSAN, and yeah, it's been a great one, and we'll see you next week. Hope you win. Peace.
I don't want